Welcome back to Revolution Idol here. Here, let me just continue. What the heck? More than 1,000. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did see that when I freaking logged into this game. Oh, day two reward! Oh my gosh! Day two reward! Oh my goodness! Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna really do too much. But, yeah, so we're back. Uh, just kind of, you know, doing my thing here. Freaking, hi. I don't know. I don't know. I'm so awkward today. But here, I think I just want to start with a question, just like a very simple uh little question to ask the audience here. Put it in the comments below, all that jazz. But like, is this weird? It was what I'm doing weird, like doing a whole podcast thing for this. I don't have any guests, is the thing, because not you might not believe me when I tell you this, but I don't have very many friends. So yeah, it's not like it's impossible to get somebody on here, but it's definitely it's not something that's gonna happen frequently, which is you know that might be a little tragic because I think especially for like a podcast, you'd expect to get at least another individual in here to kind of you know like I'm very much considering this a podcast, even if it's framed more as a gameplay. Even if it's framed more as me playing the video game and doing what comes with that, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Let me turn this down in my own ears because I can barely hear myself talk. But yeah, I mean, unlike last time though, I actually prepared a few topics, a few things to talk about. So I think I'll go through them. Let's start with the first topic here, my mental health. You know, I haven't been doing so hot recently. Like I'm okay, but I definitely haven't been doing the best that I can be. Uh, you know, uh, like things have just been a bit rough for me. Uh, but I've been working through some stuff on my own, but also with like some help of therapists and things. Like I've just, you know, I've really been trying to feel a lot more happy. And that's kind of my end goal here is just to, you know, be be happier not just with myself, but even with like my current state of being right now. I'm trying to live as contently as possible in terms of just being like, yeah, you don't always need this or that and the other, like be happy with where you're at right now. Even if not everything is super great, it's like find the positives where you can and just, you know, really hold on to them close, keep your cards close to your chest. Just kind of, appreciate that for what it's worth. Uh, uh, yeah, I don't know. It's always tough. It always feels like every day is trying to challenge you, push you further, um, in ways that I don't particularly love. But I know that's just kind of, you know, it's the world, it's the universe, just doing its thing, God's plan and all that. Um, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I was expecting to talk about it for a bit longer, but I don't really have much else to say without getting really personal on this podcast, and I'd rather not out myself entirely about everything. You know, sure, this may be a video that no one's ever gonna watch, but I don't. Doesn't mean I want to share all my personal information, like my credit card that we're gonna put up on screen for 440. But it's still just like I, again, I don't want to get super into it, but the point being though is that like I'm not feeling like the greatest, especially just last couple of years. Really, it's not even like last couple of months per se. It's really been these last couple of years, but I've really been working real hard to better my mental health and do things that are best for me. So, I think that's a bit of a somber way to start the podcast, but I think it's just true. I'll probably also treat these a bit like diaries, since again, let's be real, who's gonna watch this? I don't think anybody wants to watch this. But yeah, yeah. Uh, all right, outside of that, let's see. Here, let's hop over to a different thing. Don't have a great transition, but topic number two here, I think will be Theoryverse. Yeah. For those who don't know, which is probably maybe a big majority of you, I don't know. Again, I don't really know my audience since I don't think I have one. But again, for the one person watching, singular, who probably doesn't know what Theoryverse is, it's game theory, map pat, game theory map. You know that, you know that guy, you know the thing that you know that. Uh, yes, obviously he retired. I was back in like what was it, 2023, I think at this point. Yeah, you know, or maybe it was 2022. I don't remember, but like, around that time. And since then, the channel has been handed full reins to a lot of the creative directors who are now the hosts of said channels, and for like GT Live, which is their like live gameplay channel, uh, and Reaction Slap channel. Uh, you know, they got a new host for that too. So again, it's you know just a big channel conglomerate. They cover a lot of bases, but do pretty much the same style of content through each, right? Just for all the channels are meant for different audiences, you know, and they might overlap, but you know, it is what it is. Jeez. But Theoryverse is this new thing that they're launching, and just to sum it up pretty quickly, it's essentially the equivalent of like a streaming service for their content. Uh, and you know, sorry, I always get distracted. I never know what to say next. But like, it's like a streaming service for the content, and technically, this kind of stuff already kind of exists, sort of. Again, if you've been on the platform for a bit. Maybe you've seen certain YouTubers advertise a certain website. I'll be honest, I probably should have looked it up before I did the podcast so I would know what I'm talking about. But there's like a website where you can like pay a monthly subscription or whatever. You can get access to a bunch of content by a bunch of artists and YouTubers who essentially just post their content there, but also maybe add a little bit extra, a little bit more. And it doesn't have ads because you're paying a subscription service. So yeah, like those haven't done super well from what I've heard. Like I think they're still around. I think they're still thriving with the audience that they do have. But it's still just one of those things where it's like it hasn't really been YouTube or felt like a real competitor to YouTube just because most people don't want to pay for a subscription service for what's essentially content. And content you throw away after you watch it. You don't even remember what it was, right? You must be on YouTube Shorts. Imagine paying a freaking subscription for YouTube Shorts. You don't want to do all that. So yeah, even for the longer form videos, people just don't really want to do that because maybe they get back from work and they don't want to freaking have to they don't want to have to put in any effort to watch something. They just load up YouTube, maybe search up what they're interested in, or just see what's on the homepage probably, and they just choose that. They don't want to go through the process of having to pay a subscription service for what's essentially content. Uh, you know. So again, back to the topic at hand here. Theoryverse, right? The Theorist channels are launching this streaming service essentially. I looked into it a bit, and I still don't really know if it's gonna be like its own website with its own like like things, or if it's gonna be its own YouTube channel because it does have its own YouTube channel, but it doesn't seem to be super correlated, especially because again, there's like a monthly fee involved. Um, and the reason I know that is because I did the research, I looked into it, I read the terms and conditions, not all of them. I skimmed it mostly, but I did read them to know what the heck I was even getting into, what I was you know signing up for. I am on that wait list. I don't know if I'm one of the first 100 people though, because they're gonna give them a discount. Ooh. But yeah, it's very very interesting that they're doing this. Indeed, I wonder if it'll do well at all because there seems to be a lot of content that they have planned and or have already recorded. And it's coming out May 23rd for you who maybe I pitched this to you and you want to freaking you want to see it, you want to pay for it for yourself. But yeah, it's again, it's very interesting. I'm mainly concerned about like the implications of it, not necessarily. Yeah, I think concerned was the wrong word, but like I'm just very curious about the implications of what this might mean for other content creators going forward. Like, does that mean they'll be able to launch their own little streaming services with exclusive content? Because to a certain degree, that kind of exists already, but that's more monetary support through things like Patreon and stuff, where yeah, they might get exclusive content, like oh, maybe they'll get uncut versions of videos, extended versions of videos, they'll get them early, all that kind of stuff. But again, this is different in the fact that it's just a very different style of content. They're also claiming we can do a bunch of stuff that we can't do on YouTube because it's our own thing, which is true. But it's still just like again, I also wonder what that kind of means and I mean, they do kind of elaborate on that a little bit, but more or less, I just like I wonder what this means for content creation as a whole. Like, is that going to be like a new meta thing, or are all the content creators going to have to get on this? Are they going to have to get on their level and have to create again essentially their own streaming services or whatever, or like something like that? Again, I don't even really know if it's a streaming service. I'm only saying that because I feel like what else would it really be? You know? And apparently, whatever this streaming service, again in quotations, I don't really know if that's what it is, but like it, I think it might have like the ability to comment or say stuff. Because again, I looked in the terms and conditions, and there's like they can cancel your subscription or like ban you essentially if you say mean stuff in what I guess I'm assuming would be their version of a comment section. I don't know. Because again, it's like where would you even have the chance to say stuff? Because the most streaming services, Netflix, your Disney Pluses of the world, all that kind of stuff, there's not like a comment section. It's very much just a streaming service. You pick the thing you want to watch and you watch it. There's maybe settings for the quality, the speed, maybe the freaking language and subtitles. But like again, besides that, it's mainly just meant for your viewing pleasure, so you can see the thing. It's not really like you're not allowed to leave comments like it's a YouTube video. So again, that might be interesting if their streaming service, again in quotation marks, has like a comment section and you can actually interact uh, with the videos in a certain way and with obviously the community because they're also calling it a fan community. I think that's like the main thing they're calling it, like a fan community thing. Again, probably because the people who actually spend money on this will be like the biggest fans. But it's again, I think it's very interesting too because again they're claiming that it's going to be very fan oriented. So that again, that probably means that you can comment or you can interact with these videos in a certain way. I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see. And like I said, mainly the implications of what comes with it, because this may not really be a fair comparison or just a comparison at all, an apples and oranges situation. But since Glitch is releasing Digital Circus in theaters, and that might have a huge impact on how indie animation is seen, you know, as a whole, it's sort of like the mainstream media landscape. Like, will this have an impact mainly on content creation, not necessarily for the mainstream, but just in general? Like, again, will content creators have to start up their own streaming services type of thing? Or is this more of just a one-off little side project? It might not even do well. I don't know. I don't know, and that's what leaves me curious. I don't know. Um, but I do know that a lot of the stuff that they want to make on there, and the stuff that's probably already planned to be on there when it launches or whatever, caught my eye, so I'll definitely at least pay for I guess a month or something. I don't know how long it's gonna be. It probably will be a monthly subscription, but if I can do like a yearly thing, just so I can see how it evolves over a year and check that out, then yeah, then I will do that. If not, maybe I'll just do like a first couple of months impression or something. I don't know. I don't even know if that's something um, anyone ever would care to see, but I do think it would at least be interesting to talk about it further because it is intriguing. It is interesting, I think. So so yeah, that's kind of that. No, I don't think I have much else to say on that one. Uh, just very, very intriguing, very interesting. So yeah, there you go. So I kind of want to start a new segment on these podcasts about talking about movies and things that I've seen. You know. So technically, this is going to probably be most, if not all, of the podcast for the rest of it. But um, let's talk about a more mainstream movie that I've seen first, and then what this segment is most likely going to be going forward is more of like an indie animation spotlight. Except imagine my spotlight was coming from like a very weak, almost out of battery flashlight because again, I don't really have an audience, so I doubt I'd really give a spotlight to anything. Again, if more, if I'd be like that little glimmer um, that you get on like metallic objects when they're in the sun. That's the kind of spotlight I'm going to be giving to these creations. But again, either way, not necessarily a spotlight, I guess, because again, I can't really spotlight them if I'm not like big per se. But I can at least talk about them, and I want to share my opinions about them, especially because over on the main channel, I have this indie animation playlist uh, that you know you can check out. But like I have this freaking indie animation playlist where I'm collecting a bunch of indie animation from all over YouTube. You know, just obviously an incomplete list because you know, especially with how things are going, it looks like indie animation will only continue to exist on this platform. But I also think kind of like a lot of older indie animation, a lot of older just like stuff made for fun, for the heck of it, you know, kind of thing. So like all of that stuff, you know, I need to kind of like all that sorts of indie animation and indie series and things like that. So that is what I'm going to put in that playlist. And as of recently, especially due to like being in school or whatever, I just haven't had time to catch up on that playlist. I have so many videos to catch up on, so many pilots to watch and just you know see them, take them in, you know, maybe even critique them a little bit, even though no one will hear my critiques until today, the people will hear what I have to say, what I have to think. Let me turn it down a little bit more. Man, that music is real loud in my ears. But like, I will freaking share my opinion now, and people will actually get to hear what I think. So yeah, um, that's what this segment's gonna be. Anyway, so here, let's get up to the mainstream movie before we get to the three indie animated animations. I can talk, I promise. That I chose to spotlight today. So here, the movie that I watched recently was swapped. It was swapped. It's a Skydance movie, you know, funny new John Lasseter company. Yeah, that one. Uh, that's what I watched recently. It's a Netflix original. Um, and yeah, I'll be honest, it was okay. Yeah, it was alright. Like yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say because Skydance is very new, and the few films that they've made so far, which is Spellbound and shoot, what was that other one? Luck. Yeah, they did Luck. Uh, they were okay. I'll be honest. Luck was a pretty rough start for them. It wasn't the greatest movie ever, and it was pretty cheesy for what it was. And like I don't mind a little bit of cheese in my movies. I don't mind that. I am the enjoyer of cheese. I quite like some cheesy flicks. But the thing is, it's like cheesy. You know, it's like real extra corny for no reason. You know, just in the fact that it doesn't really do anything crazy new or anything other than just the concept, I guess. But even the concept itself isn't crazy original, I guess per se. Like I don't know. It feels very again sort of Pixar-y Disney. You know, it's not very like it's like what if this thing from real life, luck, was like a factory somewhere where the people decide the luck. You know, it's like yeah, it's a very Disney concept. I could have came up with that crap. It's like it's not very new or original, and they don't even do something super crazy with it. You know, but again, this is not a real luck. Um, and I guess similar for Spellbound, it's not the most original flick ever. Although I think Spellbound was at least a little bit better because it tried to tackle a more complex theme in sort of a cartoony animation styled way. So I can at least appreciate it for that. It's also a musical, so you know, Like me, a musical, I guess. Songs aren't bad. But again, not a review of freaking Spellbound. We're here for Swapped. We're here for the new Skydance John Lasseter movie. So again, how was it in more detail? Yeah, it's like again, it's okay. But yeah, let's get into the real meat and potatoes. So just the synopsis for to get the people on board, to get the people going, is there's this movie takes place in like a sort of alternate universe, maybe like a different planet or something. And the movie doesn't really specify, but the point is that this doesn't have real animals in it. They have these made up animals. So you have these species like pukus and javins and stuff like that. Uh, you have all these made up fictional creatures, and they all live together in a big old ecosystem. Uh, yeah, they tell it to us through the flashback that we get in the beginning that really kind of sets up the entire movie of like well actually no wait I'm misremembering it. That's a story that's told to our main character. We if anything the movie actually starts, and this is really funny. It starts with the freaking like hey, so I bet you're wondering how I got into the situation. Like it's not literally exactly that, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. They really started with the like quiet beginning type of thing, and then hey, that's me. And I bet how you're wondering how I got into this situation. Like that's literally how the movie starts. So yeah. But I mean again, aside from again a little bit of cheese, just a tad bit of cheese in my flick, using some very overused tropes. It's it's fine. Again, let's keep talking about the story to show the people what I mean. Show you what I mean. Uh like the like the film can be a bit quiet and serene. It's not like I don't know, like Studio Ghibli levels of like they really want to get you in on that ambience type of thing, but it's more of like a the movie is slower paced to a certain degree when it needs to be, you know. But I'll be honest, for that first freaking chunk of the movie when the plot until the plot kind of really gets going, it's like everybody hates each other in the movie. That's kind of what it feels like. Because you have all these characters. You have Ollie or Puku, our main character, and then you have shoot, what's her name? I'll be honest, I don't remember. Guess that's how memorable of a character she was, even though she's literally our secondary character, secondary main character. Uh, or I guess rather our other main character. Whatever. Again, semantics aside, is I don't remember her name, but she's a Javin. I said up earlier, so we got a Puku and a Javin, and they kind of hate each other. Um, because when Ollie was a child, he freaking taught the Pukus how to eat from their again made up fruit. This is just like a takes place on an entirely different like planet or universe or something. Eat these piplets. So now that the Pukus know how to eat the piplets, they come over to their residence and start eating all the piplets, and start running dry piplets. So now the Pukus are gonna starve, and it's all Ollie's fault. Uh, you know, sounds kind of crazy for an animated flick, but even though they do kind of deal with the implications of that to a certain degree, I also don't feel like I don't know. Like again, I don't know if necessarily the tone is always there. I guess like it's definitely a lot darker of a film than I thought it was going to be for sure because they talk about dying and death and especially with the story that is told, which is essentially just the origins of why this place kind of exists the way it does in the first place. You know, it's like these creatures called the Zo, which are extra powerful. They're basically like big wooden elephants. Uh, just freaking. Sorry, if you hear me freaking do that or make noises, just note this. I am autistic, and I'm probably stimming or something. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what it is. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. But uh, you know, freaking Zoes. Help! I lost my train of thought. All right, yeah. Let's move on from the origin story or whatever. I really should get someone else on this freaking podcast, dude. This is miserable. It's probably miserable to listen to. You already left. And the one person that I was watching this, they left. They're like, this sucks. I don't want to listen to this. This is awful. I hate this. But yeah, just moving past the origin story here, just to keep talking about the story. Since the movie's called Swapped, I think you could probably guess. There's body swapping in this movie. This is a body swap movie, freaking Freaky Friday or something like that. You know, um, freaking Terrific Tuesday or whatever. Uh, but yeah, it's the way they body swap is through the zoos that I was mentioning earlier. Those big wooden elephants. They have these little pod-like things, which transform animals into other animals and lets them understand all the creatures of the forest or of the place that they live in, whatever. Um, so yeah, it was they essentially just exist to create community in a way, you know, and help the animals learn to again understand each other and like each other and things like that. You know, so you know, in a point in this movie when our main character, you know, finds a way to get rid of the Javins from the island to essentially redeem himself um, in the eyes of his people and mainly like his mom and his dad. Uh, you know, he gets accidentally chased by a Javin into a hole, and then he then gets transformed into a Javin because the way the funny paws work, and you'll see this if you'll note this if you saw the movie. I pretty much called it like early on is that if you say the animal that you want to transform into, then you transform into the animal. You have to say it, and then you'll turn into it. Um, so yeah, and I called it right away. It was kind of framed pretty like obviously in a certain degree. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna be something that gets revealed later. Is that the freaking you have to say the funny name of the animal you want to turn into to turn to the animal. So yeah. So then Ollie turns into a Javin, and then again, this first half of the movie is like fighting the movie. So then, he gets saved or rescued or whatever. Actually, no. First, he gets shooed away by his people because they're like, "Who is that? Who is that guy? I don't know that guy." Uh, and then they shoo him away. Uh, not before he falls off a cliff, and then, like I was gonna say, he gets saved by a different Javin who is our other main character, who I forget the name of. I think it started with like an E or something. It was like Emily or something. I don't remember. I don't remember. To be honest, I don't care to remember because it's just an okay movie that's serviceable at best. But again, we'll get to why it's just kind of okay. It's not like the greatest thing of all time. Um. So yeah, we get introduced to our other main character, who's a Javin, and then her sisters. Uh, and again, it's just fighting the movie because the sisters don't like each other, or freaking main characters and getting along with our other main character. Like it's just kind of the scenes leading up to that. It's just arguing, just a bunch of arguing. And even once the other swap happens, another fully swapped species, where Ollie the Puku is now Javin, and our other Javin character is now Puku. It's like they're still fighting. They're still arguing. They're fighting, and they're just freaking. It's just a bunch of arguing. It's just a bunch of arguing, and I'll be honest, it does get a little annoying. I didn't get like super annoyed when watching it, but it's still just like I was basically telling myself if this keeps going, I'm gonna start getting annoyed with it. But thankfully, it only really lasted about like two scenes that are kind of long, but still, you know, only only a couple of scenes. So I'm glad that it did not last that long. Uh, but yeah, again, once the movie gets going, they talk to this fish character, this friendly little fish character called Boogle, which you ought to remember Boogle. You ought to remember him because you know, he'll be important later. He tells them where to find, you know, some more pods after that both of them get transformed, right? It's like they want to change back, so they have to go find another pod, and Boogle knows where to find another pod. So they follow Boogle's directions, and again, that's when the movie really starts. I'm not gonna like summarize the entire thing, but like that's where they start going on. Funny adventures. There's the scene where they kind of learn to work together, and they learn to kind of use each other's abilities and skills in their different bodies. Um, so all's well that ends well or whatever. Um, I will talk about one thing right after that, right after that they get to know each other. Soon. They do, and I've noticed this in a few animated movies that I've seen, right? Especially the ones made for children, but like they always have like this like fake out death moment. It's especially it especially happens when like a character is like flying or learning to fly or whatever. Like they'll freaking drop down to like the clouds or something, something like that, or maybe they'll even go up into the clouds and then you just won't hear from them for a little bit, almost like it's like some kind of fake out death or like they messed up or whatever, and then they'll come right back up and it's like the music will start freaking soaring with them like like it's like what why does every film do this? It's like why was there fake out death? Why did you make me believe they were gonna die? Like yeah, no, they're not gonna die. And like it might just be because I'm an adult and I've seen a bunch of animated movies, so I know they're not gonna die, right? This is like meant to be baby's first movie, which might explain why it's only passable. But it's like I don't know. Again, it's just weird. It's weird to me that that's what they. I guess again, that's like every animated movie does ever. You know, it's like why does there need to essentially be the fake out death before the climax? It's like, yeah, no, I didn't think the movie was gonna end. It's we're only like probably maybe 30 minutes in at best. Why would our characters die halfway through? And then like again, like what do you expect me to just like again because the clouds and then just like it stays silent for those 5 seconds and then they just start playing the credits quietly. It's like, oh yeah, no, they passed away. Our characters passed away and they've moved on. Like I don't know. It's weird, but again, it's a kids flick, so they probably wanna surprise the kiddos by doing the stereotypical tropes that are done all the time. Like again, if you want to surprise the kiddos, do something new, bro. Do something that isn't the fake out death that it obviously is. you know? Yeah. But whatever, again, maybe I'm just like one of those freaking adults who expects every movie to be Wally or something. Which I'm not, by the way. I just want to clear that up. But it's just like, I, I, I don't know. I do find that trope a little bit overused and a little silly too. It's like, I don't know. Can we come up with something new, guys? Like, if we're gonna do a fake out death, at least do it somewhere else, and not like a very different kind of context, or like actually make it feel like a fake out death. Because especially if you're not gonna put it in the climax, at least make it more impactful. I don't know. Whatever. Again, now I'm just getting real nitpicky with it. But the point being, again, they go on a whole adventure. They freaking learn to work together. They learn about each other's old traumas and things. You know, learn about Ollie's. Javin learns about Ollie's past. Ollie learns about Javin's past, and they get to understand each other in that way too, and how they're actually quite similar. All that stuff, right? Stereotypical but good movie stuff, right? Like that's what a movie should be about. The characters like traumas to a certain degree should be related, or like they should be in like a similar journey together to a certain degree. Even if technically their stories are very different, maybe they aren't so different, and that's kind of the whole point of this movie, anyways. But anyways, you know, uh, and then yeah, I guess just getting to the climax here. Spoilers, even though I'm kind of already explaining the whole movie, and you probably should have accepted that because I said I was going to review it, but still, spoiler. The freaking climax is again, remember Boogle? Told you to remember Boogle. You remember Boogle? Boogle is actually scary firewolf because he got swapped into a Boogle. Boogle is like a fish, by the way. I just realized I haven't really been specifying what a puku and a javin is. Sounds like I'm talking in nonsense and gibberish. I probably should have said what those things were, but whatever. Don't care now. I think I only really explained what the Zoe was. Okay. Anyways, again, doesn't matter now. You can watch the movie. You can look at promotional material to know what the freaking main characters look like. I'm not here to I'm not here to freaking explain the whole movie. Again, go watch it if you want to know so bad. But yeah, Boogle is a scary fire wolf, which is like the normal wolves of this universe. Which, by the way, they're also wooden. They're made of trees and they look more autumny, which is kind of fun. But fire wolf, oh, he has no leaves and he lights himself on fire. But despite seemingly made of wood, he doesn't really seem to care. So I don't know. Uh, so yeah, very interesting that. Uh, he's a firewolf, guys. He's a firewolf. Uh, so yeah, again, let me explain what that means, I guess. So the firewolf is the scary creature who killed some zoos, like yeah, straight up murdered some zoos, and and caused the whole valley to begin to ruin. Because before the animals used to be nicer to each other, like I said, but because Firewolf decided to be, I guess, I don't know, greedy, which we learned his motivations later in this movie, but because he decided to be, again, it's probably not, I wouldn't even call it greedy necessarily. You know, he just decided to be evil, whatever. He decided to be the antagonist of the film. Um, you know, he friggin' he brought chaos to the land and turned it into to the place that it is now. Uh, so, uh, friggin' heck. What the frig? I thought I'd do it orange. Okay, anyways, whatever. I think I did for red too. Okay, anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Uh, for the listeners, I guess I've created two whole circles, and there's like these A options. I don't really know what's up with that. Anyways, whatever. Again, uh, again, the climax is very stereotypical, like kind of like kids movie fodder, I guess. You know, at least there to a certain degree actually feels like there's a tad bit of stakes. Ollie makes up with his father, and his father needs to learn. His father needs to learn to freaking not be so afraid. Which again, I probably shouldn't have mentioned that, but yeah, the pukus specifically live off of like fear because their noses are really good, so they can sniff stuff like danger from kind of like it. I guess I don't know if I'd say miles away, but they can sniff the dangerous things. Um, and mainly other creatures. Uh, so yeah, his father needs to learn to kind of put those little instincts aside and work together with the rest of the creatures of the forest because there's a bigger threat at hand. That being the funny fire wolf who's gonna burn the whole forest down and all that jazz. Yeah, with his fire powers. Uh, you know. And again, I get into like the ending of the movie, but this is like I don't know. There's not much there. I guess I'll talk about Firewolf's motivation though. Won't leave you hanging there. So Firewolf did everything that he did because he was lonely. Yep, that's the real reason. He didn't have any friends, so he decided to shoot up the school. Yep, that's the plot of this film. Is that this man had no friends, no hosts, no bitches, and decided to just be a little bit mean, maybe commit a little bit of arson. I think that's pretty justifiable. Yeah. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying it's like super lame or anything, but it is, I don't know, it is definitely the motive of all time to, again, commit arson and instead of, again, actually trying to make friends, just push them away further. And then I'm pretty sure he ends up dying by the end of the movie, too. So, yep, that man lived a miserable life and tried to make people pay for it, even though, to be real, it was probably his fault. He was probably kind of just a freaking I don't want to say a nobody, but he was just kind of probably really rude to the few people that either tried to be his friends or he went and talked to. So people were like, yeah, don't talk to this guy. He's freaking hate him. You know. Anyways, just throwing that logic outside the window because if he did try to improve on himself, we wouldn't have a movie. So Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. The reason I'm not even going through it like crazy like that is just because again, there's not much to talk about. It's like a very standard kids movie thing. You know, if there's one thing that I'll always say that I like about Skydance animation is, well, their animation. It's quite good. Even though they like freaking three movies in, and I kind of feel like they're already kind of suffering through like a modern Pixar problem of like a lot of their movies kind of just look the same. Like you get like I don't know if they're trying to go for like a style thing necessarily. Like, oh, this is our style. This is what our movies look like. Which maybe they are, but I don't know. I would have at least expected slightly more, like slightly a bit more variety from not just the designs, but also just kind of the maybe again maybe the look. The feel of the movies is always very different, but sometimes it is kind of hard to tell them apart. If you weren't actually watching the movies or if you haven't seen them and been like, oh yeah, no, this is the musical fantasy one. This is the freaking nature freaking I guess I don't know if it's sci-fi for body swap, but this is like the made up creature one. I guess you could also call that fantasy, but it's a very different kind of fantasy. And then uh freaking, and then you have they're much more grounded, but it definitely feels more like a Pixar movie, like you, you know, uh, I definitely should have wrote down what my critiques and my in things that I liked about it in my notes, like I did for the indie animation. But you know, I forgot to do that. Well, maybe not forgot. I just didn't think of that at the time. So, oops. That's why I'm sound very scatterbrained right now because I don't have any talking points. But yeah, again, it's just kind of like an okay movie. Uh, you know, I guess it had its moments. I think like it was. I'm actually it wasn't even kind of funny. It was just kind of like meh. I'm pretty sure. It was, like humor wise, it's kind of a little like fine, okay. Like there wasn't really anything to write home about. Like I wasn't laughing my butt off. I wasn't freaking ruffling or anything. But it's freaking. It was okay. It was all right. Jeez, here again for the people, the people at home. We're gonna add cyan. Here we go. Woo! Yeah, baby! Yeah! Let's go! Yeah, so we got cyan now. There's cyan now. Look at cyan. Oh, we have cyan. So, yeah. Anyways, I think that's really all I have to say about Swapped. It's not like it's not like the craziest best film of all time. Um, I know. I will note this actually now that I remembered. I think the soundtrack is very, very good and just like very interesting. Goes for like a different kind of feel. Like I can't exactly tell because I feel like it's meant to be like a specific kind of culture or region, and I can't exactly tell. But like it's definitely going for some, I think, more like folk kind of music. Maybe not like the music genre folk, but more what I mean is you know, it feels like it's meant to be like the music that embodies a certain culture of like like a certain a certain group of people. You know what I'm saying? You know who I'm talking about. Yeah. So it's a very unique soundtrack. You know, because I don't even think it has any like popular music in the soundtrack. I could be wrong, but I don't think it does. So for a lot of like action scenes, just a lot of scenes in this movie, again, it's very musically different in that way. Um, just for a very different kind of feel auditorially anyway. It's probably one of the more like it's probably one of the only things I can really clap about and be like, yeah, yeah, you did something new and kind of different here. Besides that, the movie's very average and basic, and like if you've seen a bajillion movies before, you could probably call Boogle being a villain. I didn't call it initially, but like in retrospect, looking back at like how the movie goes, it's like, oh yeah, you could see that man being a twist villain from like a mile away if you watch like a lot of movies. which I don't. Especially because of my funny little autism that forces me to feel like I can't watch live action movies because they're boring, which is just actually true about me. Although I'm trying to change things up. Maybe by this year I'll have watched a lot more stuff that's like in the film canon, a lot more of that like, you know, just live action stuff in comparison to animated stuff, you know. But we will see. We will see. So yeah, there you go. That's swapped. That's swapped for you. Again, I'll give it a rating, I guess, just to end off this little segment here. Uh, I'd probably rate it maybe like a 7 or like a 7.5, I guess. Like again, it does everything it needs to for a movie. Like I think it's not necessarily bad. It's just not really outstanding or anything. But I think the good definitely outweighs, I guess, what you consider the bad. It's not really bad. It's just kind of okay. Um, and it's a fine, like, this could work as baby's first movie. It's not really like it's not really anything to write home about. But again, that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just kind of like does what it needs to, you know. Even if it could do a lot of those things better, which I guess I could dive into those criticisms, because why not? I might as well. Uh, I I think if the movie tried to put more emphasis on either, which I didn't mention this earlier because of course I didn't, my scatterbrain self, you know, Ollie is, they literally set him up as this curious character, and then by the time he does the thing that dooms all the Pukus, um, he grows up as an adult and he's kind of meant to be more, uh, I guess, more edgy, less like, especially once he gets turned into a Javin, he's like I hate the Javins, I hate him so much, which is comes from his like rooted, I guess what you call racism, right, or whatever. I don't really know. Like he just hates the Pukus, because mainly of what they did to him, right? They ruined his life and ruined the lives of all of the other Pukus. So yeah, of course he would feel pretty sour and bitter. Um, but I don't know. The thing is, like, they show him being this very curious kid, and like he's inventing all these little gadgets and things to do something as simple, like they show in the beginning of the movie, to swim underwater. So like he tries inventing, eventually he essentially invents a snorkel, but he has to, eventually learns that, oh, he can't go that deep in the water with the snorkel if the pipe thing to let me breathe isn't too long or whatever, so it goes through a whole like little process of inventing that. But then by the time we cut to him being an adult, he's still using all these little gadgets and trinkets and things. And again, he kind of quote unquote invents or like gets curious about like what works. Like he's very much like an experimenter. I'm gonna try this, see if it works. He's very much a throw things at the wall, see what sticks kind of guy. Um, but I wish they almost kind of got rid of that in his adult form, or like at least he didn't do it as much, because I feel like you know he's still inventing and creating all sorts of crazy, kooky contraptions. But then, like, later, I don't know, he just seems a lot more hate and full of spite. Like, again, I feel like he has this hate and resentment for the Javits. I just kind of wish that was more reflected in his character, because you can still see parts of him, which I don't necessarily mind, but I wish they were much more reduced than just him being kind of the same person, except he now just really, really hates Javits. You know? That's just me, though. And I mean, that's about it. Guess maybe the movie spacing was a little quick, I think, from what I remember. But it's again, it's nothing crazy. It's not like zooming by and not letting anything breathe or anything. It's just kind of like I do kind of wish there it was a little slower. Maybe let characters express themselves a little more and things. But it's also not the end of the world. Again, baby's first movie. They'll enjoy it, and it's not nothing terrible. 7 out of 10. All right, next segment. Oh, jeez, I'm freaking 50 minutes into this podcast. This podcast is definitely going to be longer than than the other one. Oh boy. So here, on to our next topic here. Let's talk about Overclocked. So if you're following along on my funny indie playlist, because I'll probably be going in the order that I have them in there. Overclocked. Look for it. I don't remember what number it is in the playlist. uh, but it's down there. So look for overclocked. Or actually, I think it was just called overclock. My bad, I'm getting the title wrong. But that's also what I wrote in my notes. I wrote overclocked. Uh, so oops. Anyways, overclock. Oh jeez, I'm running out. Just get some water. Jeez, I need to get some water. I've been talking way too much. Just today in general. Because here, I'll let you in a little secret. A little behind the scenes. Pull back the curtain a little bit. I watched D&D pilots basically right before this. So, and since I'm just naturally a yapper, I've I'm getting rid of my voice. I am getting rid of my voice right now. And I wish I could go couldn't get, I wish I could go get some water, but I don't really want to pause the podcast or anything like that. You know, because again I could, but I don't really want to. So yeah, we're just gonna raw dog it. No water. You notice my throat gets worse by the time I get to the third freaking indie pilot. Well then, yeah, I don't know. You noticed it. Great job. Anyways, yeah, but I apologize in advance because it probably will get worse. So overclock, right? Maybe you've seen it because again, maybe you're following along my indie animation playlist, so you should go watch it. Should go watch it. Support indie animation in any way you can. Merch, just watching, giving it a little like on YouTube, sharing it with the people. Again, I can't really influence, I don't think, because I don't have any real substantial following. But if you are listening to this and you care about indie animation, go support these animations and the people behind them. So, anyways, overclock. Um, just a slight spoiler warning, not necessarily for the story, but this will probably be the worst one we talk about, unfortunately. Like, it's not terrible. It's just kind of amateurish, which, I mean, kind of comes with indie animation, but, like, again, I do have a bit of talking points of things they could do better. Again, not that I'm anyone to talk, but that, I have a few things that they could do better. For one, here, looking at my notes here, this will definitely be a little scatterbrained. Holy Lorddom, which is what I wrote exactly. Holy Lorddom. They just do this big exposition at the beginning and essentially just tell you all the lore, everything you need to know about it. But let's be real, I kind of forgot about most of it, so I'll try to sum it up just to show you what I mean, because it's like uh there's these two factions that are called the series calls them companies, I think. Right? Is it companies? Is the word that these again? I don't remember what they're called. But these two companies, I think that's what they call them, are the Stargazers and Star Power, not plural. By the way, just that is what they're called. Stargazers and Star Power. Stargazers are like these like magic magician users. They're more like wizards or something or witches or whatever. Like they use they use magic and stuff. While Star Power is more technology focused and they use more they use more inventions and things like that. And funnily enough, it does kind of remind me of like Kirby lore. If anyone's up to date on their Kirby lore, it's like literally the same thing. It's like two factions, um, and one's the magic one, one's the science one. Anyways, whatever. Again, besides the point. Uh, like uh, and I think here I'm trying to think of what else there is. There's also like these two characters who seem to be important. I think one's called Jewel Rift, and the other's I don't remember the name of the other one, but I feel like they're gonna definitely either be like a rival or secondary main character, the other main character of this show or something. Um, but Jewel Rift is the one that we're following, and these two characters are essentially the sort of personifications, I guess you could call them, of time and space. And then like I think they got like sealed away or something by these people known as beacons. Um, I don't really know what their importance is other than just sealing away our main characters. Um, or at least like these very important characters anyway. Uh, and freaking I don't know, there's some like other stuff, about like because they got sealed away or something, because they're the manifestations of time and space. You can't have one without the other, so then the universe starts crumbling. But then they like did something to make it not be as bad or something. I don't remember. But you see what I'm getting at? Like they just drop a whole lot on you, and then there's like some other crap that I don't even remember. But like that is just not how you start in indie pilot. You don't just start by lore dumping. Like even freaking Has Been Hotel's freaking pilot technically does the lore dump technically, but it's not really like a whole. It's not like a whole lore dump kind of thing. It's not really that. It's just more you get to see it with your eyes, and it's in this sort of like paper cutout aesthetic. Like you get to see the paper cutouts, and they're sort of presenting not even necessarily the story, but more or less like the kind of universe they're in and some story elements. You know, which is a much better way of kind of quote unquote expositing the lore, a bit better because it's a lot more vague and you have to make these assumptions. It actually kind of forces you to think a little bit. This one just kind of shoves it all in your face and just hopes you remember it, which again, not the way you do that. That's just not the way you do that. Not at all. um, but yeah, that's like you know probably one of the bigger ones. Another one here is that the swearing is just kind of there. Like the characters kind of just say a bunch of swears. Not like Vivzy pop levels of insane, but it's definitely like it just kind of feels not even necessarily out of place. It just kind of like it don't really be hitting at all. Like it's not really funny, but it also doesn't feel like it's meant to be a natural speak kind of thing. Like it's just kind of there. It really just is kind of there, and I don't really know what to make of it because it's like these semi cutesy characters. It kind of has like a polygon art style. Again, go watch it. But it's like it's it's very like you know again, I wouldn't really expect these characters to say swear words. Not even really because it's animation and it's for kids or whatever. But it's more like again, it doesn't really match the vibe necessarily. Which speaking of which, I will probably get to its vibe in a sec. But it's like I don't know. Like I think it could work just as well without the swearing. And this isn't even coming from my Christian Catholic self who would prefer if it didn't have any swearing, so it could be for the whole family. But rather just that again, it just doesn't really fit. It doesn't really add anything, to be honest. It doesn't add anything to the dialogue. It doesn't really spice it up anyway. And I don't know. Again, this just doesn't really feel like the universe to a certain degree, where the characters would be thrown around swears left and right. Again, they don't necessarily have sailor mouths per se, but they also again because of that. Then like at least with Vivzy Pup, you can be like, oh, okay, this is just annoying dialogue. I hate it. Here, it's just kind of like it's just kind of okay dialogue, I guess. Like I don't know. Like again, there's not much to write home about in that department. You know, not much I can say other than maybe just lessen the swears a little bit, I guess. But that's more of just a personal preference thing. If they just want to, if you want your character to swear up a storm, then sure, go ahead. But at least make it feel more profound, have a bit more of an impact, or at least like have it be funny. You know, because I do kind of feel like maybe this show wants to kind of go for sort of a panty and stocking studio trigger kind of vibe. And I guess speaking of that, even though I haven't really watched any Studio Trigger animes, I haven't really watched any animes in general, to be honest. Um, there's like cool onomatopoeia things, like when like cool effects happen, because there's a lot of fight scenes in the show, and like a lot of explosions. So then you'll see like the words "kaboom" come up, or even just like for like an introduction of a character, you'll see their name or like the name of their move like in the background. It's very cool. I just, I think if there's only one little, it's more of a nitpick than a critique really, but it's just like I feel like they could be more stylistically interesting other than just kind of existing there because it felt like they chose the most basic font ever to do the onomatopoeia and the character names with. It's like some Helvetica type font. Like it's like the most basic, normal, whatever font. Like it's just like I don't know. You could have gone with like maybe a slightly different font or like at least maybe stylistically do some cool stuff with the letters. Like I don't know. I don't know, man. But yeah, I think that's cool. That's definitely a plus for me for sure. Um, and I guess speaking of the humor, even though that's not at all what I was just talking about, um, I don't know. There's some gags, right? They just feel a little bit out of place, like the swearing. Like there's like a meta gag in there, uh, for some reason. Uh, where our main character freaking jewel ripped the freaking clock. girl addresses the audience. I don't know. It's very, very weird. And I don't know. It's less of a freaking address of the audience, but it's more of like looking at the camera kind of thing, which again just felt a little weird. Felt a little weird, bizarre. Um, like the line itself is kind of funny, but it's still just like I don't know. I wasn't expecting it. It definitely caught me off guard. Didn't seem like the kind of show that would just randomly, essentially break the fourth wall for, I guess, no reason. I don't know. But again, I don't mind it. It is a little bit of a funny, silly line, so it works. It's okay. Um, yeah. It also has quite peculiar pacing because, like, kind of like how I argued, or not argued, but kind of like how I said before. Uh, like, they just have this entire lore dump thing, which lasts way longer than it should, and then, uh, and then the entire pilot just kind of moves it along after that. It's just like we're going from place to place. We're meeting a bunch of characters, and we really barely get any time to really know them or even really feel like we get to know a bit of their dynamic, but we really don't know their connections to each other, and like how they feel with one another. Like we don't really get that. So again, just felt weird because it just felt like we were moving along and again meeting a bunch of characters and all that stuff and doing a bunch of fighting and action scenes for really no reason. Like I mean, again, it's not like can you can't do that, but it's still like I would at least like to know the characters a bit better, you know, um, if we're gonna do this crazy chase scene thing. Like again, I don't need to know their entire backstory. I don't need to know everything about them, but just again set them up a little better and give me like a good vibe check on them, a good like this is what they are like kind of thing. Which I don't really feel like we really got super well. Like again, it's I think it definitely tries to be there, but again, with like the little breathing room that there is in this pilot, I don't think every single character gets one, and it definitely you know, again, it just ends up going by a little bit too quickly for me to really get a kind of connection to the character kind of thing, or at least get again kind of a vibe for who they are. Um, and and I guess since again we're really just talking about sort of the writing parts of it, obviously I already talked about like holy lore dump, but yeah, it's like really unneeded because you know you don't need to essentially tell me everything about your story, or at least kind of that sort of genesis creation story of like why we're here. Like, I'd rather just have the characters kind of do that, or if it's gonna be kind of like a fish out of water story, then just you know, let our character kind of experience the, being out of water and discovering the new world or whatever. It's not really that kind of story, I don't think, but it's still just like she's meeting a bunch of new people and characters she's never seen and all that other crap. Like, all right, well, I mean, I guess that's not entirely true because there's like a character that she recognizes, but still, it's like I as the audience am sort of the fish out of water. I'm the person who hasn't seen this before, so I'd prefer if the characters instead of having like a 3 minute freaking lore dump that I have to take notes in, um, more or less just kind of like talk to each other and again show that they have dynamics, show that they've met before, all of these things, and let sort of again let that wash over the audience and let them take that in instead of expecting them to again just remember everything from your lore dump and just kind of you know apply it to the rest of the pilot because I don't know again it just doesn't really mesh well. It doesn't vibe with me, and again, it's just something that isn't really appealing story wise. Where it's like you have to remember the first freaking 3 minutes of this movie because we explained all the entire story basically, or all the freaking key terms you need to know. And if you aren't keeping track, if you didn't keep a mental note of it, you're gonna be lost. Which, again, I'd rather just be slowly introduced to these things rather than just told all of them at the beginning and then have to kind of figure out and remember, oh yeah, this is what this is. That's why this is important. All that other stuff. Like, that's just not good writing. Like on a very basic, blunt level, it's just not good writing. Um, Here, let's jump to this one. I think this, especially with the pacing, it'd probably work better as a game. Again, if you watched it, if you saw it, um, like you notice that I think, especially with all like the special moves and stuff, and even sort of the designs of the characters, um, again, it just feels more video gamey than it does like animation-y, like you know. And that's not to say like animation can go for like a video game kind of vibe, but at least with especially the way the story is written, and I would know from experience, like it just feels like our characters are just going from this scenario to this scenario. Like, for example, the sort of chase scene at the beginning, it just feels more like a level. It feels like Sonic 06, like keep running and don't bump into objects, don't get caught or whatever. Like that's just what it feels like. It doesn't feel like a part of an animation, especially because they're also trying to introduce characters to us at the same time. It's like I don't know, man. You know, especially because our character sort of seems to have a goal, but we don't even really know why she's running away. You know, we're not really told that explicitly, especially from what I recall. It's like there's not a reason for that at all. So our character just kind of got unsealed or whatever, and now they're out of whatever seal held them, and now they're just gonna run away. I don't we don't know where they're going. We don't really know why we should care necessarily about them getting away, other than I guess they're the main character. But again, it's just like I I don't know. It's just this is just happening. And again, I think it just worked a lot better as a game. And I think some people in the comments said it best, but it feels like a bunch of strung together video game cutscenes without the gameplay. Like like it feels like there's meant to be gameplay in between a lot of these cutscenes, but there just isn't. There isn't. You know, the characters are just talking to one another, and you know, it's like I feel like there should have been something like by the end of a certain scene, I felt like I should have been hopped into gameplay and like I need to do stuff. You know, it's just yeah, I don't know. But again, that's definitely no like crazy slam against the creator of this because, and again, maybe I should have prefaced this, but they are amateurish. Uh, you know, even their English isn't super great, so like that kind of comes through a little bit in the script, and mainly through like the description I read. It's like yeah, you can tell English is not their first language, but they're definitely trying their best um, with what they got. And yeah, I mean, again, at least animation wise, it's pretty freaking good, I will say. It's probably the best thing about the pilot itself. Um, but yeah, but I guess speaking of, again, more scripts, dialogue, writing related things, the voice acting is okay. The deliveries of the character designs are fine-ish. Like, obviously, a lot of them could be better. I think one of the main ones that really stood out to me in terms of, like, I think this one needs a bit of work. Probably our main character, Julrift. Like, the voice actor is going for a bit of like a cutesy girly kind of vibe, but then for certain lines, like for example when she starts like laughing really hard, it just doesn't fit. You could tell like it's the most obvious fake laugh where it's clearly a voice that they're trying to put on and they're trying to keep the voice while they do the laugh, but they can't do both. Like it just sounds really bad. It just sounds really not good. Um, you know, but that's probably probably the worst line delivery of the entire pilot. You know. Says that it's just fine because they are the friends of the animator, the person who made this pilot. So you know, if it's amateurish, maybe even slightly indiscernible at times, mainly because of things like my quality, that is why. So yeah, you know, I'm not gonna blame you too hard. You know, do what you got to do. Get your friends in there, especially if they want to be a part of it. I'm not here to frickin' uh, what's the phrase? Uh, you know, I don't remember, but the point is, I'm not here to get all angry and mad about it. Like, oh, they didn't hire professional voice actors. Oh, the friends that they did hire aren't good. Ooh, like you know, I'm not here to get all angry about it. Doesn't really matter to me. Yeah, but besides that, I think it's fine. You know, obviously, like I've been talking about this whole time, the writing really needs some work. And then the only other thing outside of that is like I think they need some better choreography and mainly like also cinematography because there's just some crazy shots that go on for like really long with basically no cuts, which some of them look okay, but other ones I'm just like, why didn't we do a cut here? Why are we like doing a bunch of zooms and flying across the freaking screen and flying across the freaking landscape? It's like, what are we doing? Don't we just do a cut or something? Because the freaking the animator clearly knows how to do cuts, right? This person clearly knows how to do cuts, but they didn't choose to do them a lot of the time. So I don't know if clocks are or sorry, clock, I'm thinking of the name of this freaking show. Cuts. I don't know if cuts are hard to do, and I think they were doing this in Blender. I believe. I don't know. But it's like, and again, I don't know if they're hard to do, but it's still just like, I don't know. I feel like they should at least be a little bit easier than something like 2D where you have to redraw the character over and over again. But again, I what do I know? Because I sure as heck can't animate in 3D. I sure don't use Blender, so I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. But yeah, uh, all right, here, yeah, again, just looking at my notes here. There's one last positive. Let's end on a positive here. The music is quite good, quite a good soundtrack. It was again made by one of the friends of the animator, but again, just very very good music. It's probably one of the better parts of this animated pilot, besides the animation itself. It's it's very well done music. It fits the like the scenes and scenarios, and at least definitely engrosses you into the thing a little bit more, even if the writing itself isn't the greatest. But it at least makes it feel ever so slightly more professional. To not just have a soundtrack, but also to have like a good one at that. Again, it definitely engrosses you in at least a little more. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Overclock. Again, go follow the creator. I probably should have wrote down their names too. Next time I will do that. I will write down their names. Uh, but yeah, it's I I should definitely mention who they are so you can go maybe follow them on the Smedias and on all those funny little platforms and whatever the heck they're on. But yeah, I forgot. I think it was. Oh yeah, there we go. Now I remember. It was Caramel Canister. Caramel Canister. Go follow Caramel Canister. I believe they have a Twitter. Go follow them on there. Just yeah, I can't wait to see how they improve. And maybe when it comes to, because I think they're also making a game, uh, which is not overclocked. It's not based on overclocked or overclocked. Sorry, jeez. But just I think it's a separate thing. Um, but yeah, again, go throw him some love. It's not the best indie pilot out there, not by a long shot, but it is a fun one. At least. It is a fun one, and who knows, it might be right up your alley, even despite all the issues and things that I gave out. So yeah, discover their fun little character designs, all that other jazz. I mean, here I'll leave Caramel specifically, even though again they are probably not listening. I don't expect them to be, but I will leave them with not necessarily a word of advice, but more just like another little nitpick thingy. Oh, jeez, which I kind of forgot about that I had on the list. But I think your models would look a lot better without the cell shading because there's a lot of detail on those characters, and I think a lot of it gets hidden because the cell shading is trying to make it all look all 2D and flat, which again doesn't look bad. It's not bad. I wish I could talk. It's not bad cell shading. It's just kind of like it again. It kind of gets rid of all the detail because I can tell that these characters are very designed. Like they have a lot of not necessarily little nuances, little intricate little things, but like I think especially because I think a lot of them are meant to be machines, and just kind of like not really human, not really humanoid. They're more like mechanical and things. I think a lot of that detail that is in the designs would come through a lot better if it wasn't self shaded and you could really just see all the details. Like again, even if it's like because it's kind of going for a low poly thing. Um, like again, even if it still stays low poly, like I'm not expecting it to go for realism per se, but just kind of like I think you would at least be able to tell a lot of those other details of the designs of the characters a lot better. But again, I'm not the guy who works in Blender. I don't really know, but I just feel like, especially with what I saw from the designs, the cel shading kind of gets in the way a little bit and doesn't really show some of these smaller little intricacies of said designs. So I think it would look a lot better without the cel shading. That is just my opinion, though. And again, that's all I got to say about Overclocked. That's all I got to say. We are an hour into this podcast. I have not been paying attention. This is longer than the first episode. Quite a long shot, and technically we're not done. We have three more. We have three more paths. Three more paths, or two more paths to go through. Sorry, my bad. Two more paths to go through. But I think these should be a lot quicker because they're actually quite good. They're quite good. Um, so yeah, not as much to like nitpick and critique here. Just, yeah, like I'll just go through basically what I enjoyed since again I don't really have anything to say here like about that. or about these two in terms of like a critique or anything, because they're just really well done. So the next one is Three Tomes by, thankfully I remember the creator's name, Bree Bree Animator, and a few other people too. It's a larger team, but the channel that it is on, and sort of the main creator of it, Bree Animator, on YouTube and I believe on all the other medias as well, friggin' Twitter, Blue Sky, all that other jazz. So, what is Three Tomes? What is it about? Why do I think it's good and better than Overclock? Well, Three Tomes is a, let's just get this out of the way. Let's rip the band-aid off here. It's a very black-coded cartoon. It's very, you know, all the main characters are black. A big chunk of our antagonists are black. Uh, yeah, it's just, this is, again, very, it just has basically an entirely black cast, very black-coded cartoon. I don't even know if I'm really using the right word there. I hope that doesn't come off as, like, it's offensive or anything. I'm not trying to get canceled on this podcast and no one's ever going to see. Or like if I do ever get famous, I don't want people to dig this up all of a sudden. It's like, hey, he said black coded and that's offensive for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why it would be offensive. That's why I'm asking those still, because I don't mean to offend. I don't mean to offend. I might say some edgy jokes here and there, uh, like I did in the last podcast. But I, you know, again, all just little gags, all little goofs and gaffs. I don't mean to offend. But here, again, get to the meat and potatoes. Get to the point. So yeah, Three Tomes is basically a very, very anime inspired. Like, I didn't really notice it at first, but I mean, they even dropped the word anime in the show, so that's how you can tell that it's kind of going for an anime thing. But yeah, it's like essentially a cartoon about this girl named Tammy who finds a tome, and this tome essentially allows her to unlock some magical abilities, but she's mainly using it to gather these sort of, I think, spirits or creatures or things that belong in the tome, but have escaped for whatever particular reason. I think because of like what happened in the beginning of the pilot or something. But yeah, no. I mean, here, let me just place for a solid freaking, I don't even know, freaking at least 5 minutes, bare minimum. Uh, like again, cinematography so good. It's so good. There's a lot of great shots in there. It may only be an animatic pilot, but it's like you can tell that they're trying to go for some very awesome, cool shots. It's very, very cool stuff. And like even the way it sets up its story, its little lore there. It doesn't spend a bunch of time like on the world building of it, or even just like like long ago the Fire Nation did all this stuff, yada yada. But even that's like at least contained to the intro, and again it's very short. It's like really only like a minute. That's not very long. And this show, again, they don't really dwell on the past, or at least the setup of the show. Like after they're done sort of setting it up, they just kind of get into it. They just get into it, and they just they slowly introduce the characters and their motivations and why we're even here slowly over time. Like again, it's just super good. If you watch it, and if you are like a writer of any kind, like you'll know exactly what I mean. Like it does everything right. It does everything right. I can't, like there's no complaints that I can throw out there. Like, you could have done this better, you could have done that better. Like no, it does everything it needs to. Pretty much pitch perfect. Like again, I don't have any critiques. I don't. There's nothing for me to say on that department, right? Like I go from place to place. Every place has a purpose, and there's like good transitions between the scenes. Like they all have their little connective tissue. It just works. It just works. So yeah, uh, it's very good. Very, very good. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. There's not really much for me to say on it, because again, I'm more of like a writing kind of guy. But I guess stylistically, again, it looks very good. There's only really one section of the pilot that has a bit of animation. Um, but yeah, it's uh, it's very much like a Pretty Please. I don't want to be a magical girl in that way, where it's like most of it's animatic, then it has that one section where it's animated. But besides that, it sticks to being an animatic the entire time. Um, but yeah, like I can tell that these are very fun, very cool designs, and that these characters are gonna, you know, go through stuff like some arcs and stuff, and I fully expect them to handle it pretty well, even though it's also kind of going for its anime thing of like, oh, there's the evil, scary villain guy, and then his, uh, you know, his freaking minions, which, you know, by the way, I guess I haven't really mentioned it yet, but this is like a witch kind of show. Like our main character's kind of becoming a witch, sort of, and casting magic spells. If you can already guess that by the mention of a tome. Um, but yeah, you know. Uh, Again, I don't have much to say other than again, I like it. I like it quite a bit. Um, there's even callbacks to things that we haven't seen off screen, but they're just like again, they expect us to put the pieces together. I like it. I like this show a lot, and I want to see it succeed because it's good. It's good. I'll just say this because there's a little bit of cheese factor. If you don't like cheese, you might want to get out of this. But I did mention anime earlier, and even though I haven't seen anime, I've definitely, or like too many animes anyway, I've definitely absorbed a lot of that those sort of tropes through a lot of cultural osmosis and shows that have been inspired by anime. And in this case, this show does like the love at first sight trope, and just kind of like also it sets up a lot of romantic love interests for our main characters, or for our main character mainly. Uh, like since our main antagonists are vampires, and if you've ever just been around at all, you know that for some reason there's just a weird obsession with wanting to date vampires that are really hot for some reason. Uh, yeah, so that's just like they set up freaking multiple different I guess what you can call a bit of a love triangle with two of our vampire I guess antagonists. Um, you know, the other one who is just kind of like emo and freaking like oh whatever kind of guy, and then this like silly quirked up little vampire guy who is not black. He's probably the only black or non-black character in the entire cast. Uh, he's more pale if anything, but yeah, it's the this you know there's two of them, very different personality wise, but our main character falls for both of them, or at least is doing the whole blush anime. Oh, uh, oh my gosh, kind of thing. Uh, so yeah, it's, again, a little bit of cheese in that way. It did kind of not necessarily catch me off guard, but it was more of like a oh we're doing this thing kind of deal, and it's like it's whatever. Like doesn't really ruin the show. I just again I hope they don't really focus on that more than the actual kind of story because it seems like they are setting up at least a little bit of lore, and it also seems like it's probably going to be a Monster of the Week show. So I just hope they don't really drop that for like romance plots and stuff because that'd be kind of cringe, and I wouldn't like that too much. Especially when they're pretty much getting everything else right, so I wouldn't want them to get it wrong. Is my voice like cracking or something? Like I feel like I can hear it doing that. So I really hope it's not, but I feel like it is. After this podcast, I'm gonna get some water, dude. So yeah. Again, I think that's three tomes. Oh wait, did I even rate? Did I rate any of them? Because I rated Swap, but I don't think I rated Overclock and the again three tomes here. Let's go back to Overclock for a sec just to rate that one. I think that one's like I'd probably go with maybe like a 4 out of 10. It's not like terrible, but I think it definitely needs a bit of work to at least become like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Think that man, I'm a fabricator. Think that man. Sorry, that meme is dead. Uh, but yeah, if it wants to reach that level, then I think it needs to at least tighten up a lot of that stuff. But okay, here back to three tomes. Three tomes is like I would probably say yeah, an 8 or a 9, honestly. Like it's again, it is practically perfect. Like I don't think I have really any critiques story wise or even how they wrote this specific episode, in terms of like how they set it up, setting up all the story and the character. Like yeah, I don't have any complaints. I really don't. It just works. So yeah, I guess if I had to go with a score, I'd probably go with a 9 because again, it just gets everything right. There's like nothing in here where I can sit down and go, Yeah, no, that was kind of bad. That was kind of iffy. Like, I mean, again, even with the cheese, it's like I don't mind. I don't mind it being slightly cheesy or leaning into those anime tropes because even though they are a bit overdone, overplayed, it's like people love those tropes for a reason. They're not terrible. So especially again if done right. So you know, can't wait to see where that love triangle goes. Who will she choose? Who knows? But I'm sure it's gonna get the fans invested. I'm sure it's gonna get them making fan art and fanfics. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, just it was a very fun pilot overall. So yeah, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Yeah. Hope it becomes a full show with animation and stuff, and we can really, really appreciate it for that. Um, but here, our our last pilot on the list. Yeah, here, let me look at my notes here. Is Strawberry Vampire. Now, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this one again. You know, especially if you're kind of in the animation kind of space, if you care about that at all. I'm sure you've heard and probably watched Strawberry Vampire. But again, for those who have not, the one person watching this, if you haven't seen Strawberry Vampire, go watch it. It's really good, but also, uh, you know, let me summarize it. Let me, tell you what it's about. So, Strawberry Vampire, unlike Overclock, man, it's just gonna catch a bunch of strays here in this podcast, isn't it? But yeah, unlike Overclock, it doesn't really spend a bunch of time setting up its world and story. Like it doesn't have a 3 minute lore dump, but rather it just kind of sets it up very simply because the premise within itself is very simple. But like there is, I guess, a bit of story to chew on. There's a bit of lore there. In that case, being that our main characters are strawberry vampires. They're like vampires, but instead of sucking blood, they suck on strawberries. Yeah. Uh, and uh, they lived in a place called, I believe, it was Strawbania. Uh, and Strawbania was a very fun, very peaceful place until the Fire Nation attacked Nova. Until these, I believe they were, what were they? They were another like group of vampires. I think they were like grape vampires. I think I don't know, but yeah, they threw a bunch of grapes at them and kicked them out of their hometown or whatever. And now that they were forced to move, they decide to move to where else but freaking America, United States, and I believe specifically probably NYC. So yeah, it's that kind of show to a certain degree. Um, yeah, and then really the goal of our main character and their entire family is just to fit in and be normal new American citizens. That's really it. Again, it doesn't go any crazier than that, and I love it for that because again, even in that sort of little spiel that we get, it's only like a minute. It's only like a minute of a spiel, like I think a minute and a half of spiel and story. Um, which is like yeah, it sets it up immediately, and then we just kind of jump right into it, and it's a really good pilot for just having set that up. Now we just kind of know what to, I guess, quote unquote, expect going in, and also just like we get the context surrounding it. Yeah, and again, it didn't take like 3 minutes to do, which felt like an eternity for the pilot, especially because Overclock was only like 10 minutes long, so that's like at least maybe like I don't know, I'm not good at math, so like a sixth or something, maybe even a fourth, I don't know, but it was a decent chunk of the indie pilot. It wasn't all of it, obviously, but it's like, why'd you spend 3 minutes setting up the lore and the story? Uh, and again, I don't want to make it catch any more strays. We're done. We're done. I promise. Uh, but yeah, Strawberry Vampire is just so good. It has a very great aesthetic. It has just fun characters, and the voice acting is pretty great. Like our main character, Franny, talks in like this, I guess, almost like Russian accent, and it's really fun. It's really fun, especially because the whole cartoon itself just seems to be kind of focusing on Franny's like insecurities, and it's sort of like it is very much a fish out of water story, like I was talking about before with Three Times. This is the fish out of water story, and you know, dealing with like foreigners moving into a different country kind of thing is yeah, it's a very fun little premise for a show. bit relatable for some, but instead, now we're taking like what might be, who knows? Again, it seems very Russian inspired, the Strawbanians, but yeah, it's like instead of a Russian moving to America, it's a Strawbanian moving into America. Um, so it's like, this little fictional species of strawberry vampires. So yeah, again, it's huge, it's fun. And I think most of all, it just stays grounded for the most part. Like obviously, it has this mystical, magical element behind it of like, oh, our main character and their family they're strawberry vampires, and they can do all this like they can do all the vampire things, turn into bats and fly and stuff. But or at least like float. But yeah, like it's it doesn't really dwell on that like crazy, or doesn't like make I don't know, it doesn't even really make jokes of it really. Like you think they'd like, your average kid show would be like, "Wait, you can float? You can float and you fly? Oh my gosh, you're like not at all like me, a normal human being." Like they don't really do those kinds of like I guess what you would almost call like cheap jokes. They really don't do that. They instead just focus on Franny and her personality and how like in a lot of ways she's really no different than us as people. She's just a person too, and she wants to do stuff, and she wants to literally the plot of the episode wants to impress her classmates and teachers and show them up and show that she can spell because she isn't so great at spelling in middle school, by the way, which you know kind of crazy, but whatever. I don't know. Again, maybe there's no schools in Strawbania, so I don't know. I don't know. What do I know? So yeah, again, I think it's fun. I think it's fun. And like here, this is something I can say for not even all the other pilots that kind of have this format of like being an animatic, which I don't even think I mentioned that yet, but it is an animatic. Uh, yeah, but being an animatic and then having like one scene that's actually animated, I feel like the scene that they chose for to actually get animation, like proper animation, was probably the most impactful scene they could have chose, and like really just stood out because of it, uh, and just made that scene ever more impactful. It's the scene where Franny's talking to her straw mama. That is really the name of the character. You can check the credits. Um, and she's freaking talking with her, and like again, it just hits. It just hits. Some great fun like character interactions and dialogue and things, and then yeah, like again, I don't even know how to put into words. I don't know how to put into words how good it is. It's just yeah, just really fun. Like here, I have bullet points, which I don't really have too many of them, but I think there are at least some words I can use to describe the pilot. It's fun. It actually has some really good jokes in there. Like it's actually funny. Um, you know, I mean, not say that any of the indie animations or any animated pilots that I've watched so far aren't funny per se, but like again, this one actually had some good humor, some clever like wordplay and things. Like it's good. It knows how to do a funny, and secondly, it's just straight silly. Like it very much kind of I guess plays with the concept and also while leaning in sort of a quote unquote more serious way with like Franny's insecurities and things. Again, it knows how to be silly when it needs to be and also doesn't take itself like too seriously. Because again, it knows that it's a show about a freaking strawberry vampire girl moving into America with like a silly voice, you know, or a Russian accent. I don't mean to call out Russians like that because I do think it's a Russian accent. But like yeah, it's you know it even though it does at least have character work in there, it also doesn't take itself too crazy serious because it's meant to be a fun, silly show, fun, lighthearted little show. So that's pretty cool. And lastly, I wrote this, and I think this is important, especially for anyone who wants to make an indie pilot. But it's to the point. It gets across its vibe and its message, and just like even just meeting the characters and all that stuff. It doesn't waste any time. I don't know freaking lore dumping all the lore that exists for the series currently, or at least like the genesis of it, right? Like all the beginnings and like why we need to care about it. Again, I didn't mean for Overclock the Kitchen of the Show, but it's just the truth. Like especially after watching that and having critiqued it in the way that I have, it's like it was so refreshing to just go into a pilot that just kind of knew what it was doing and just was again to the point. it didn't dawdle around. It did what it needed to, and I felt better by the end of it. You know, it just felt nice and good. Again, I don't think I said who Strawberry Vampire was for, but they're by Little Tuffy on YouTube. Little Tuffy, like a rapper name, Lil, Lil, and then the apostrophe Tuffy, Lil Tuffy. Um, and that's tough spelled properly, by the way. But yeah, it is great. Um, I don't really got much else to add on to this because again, it's just again it just gets everything right and it's fun and silly. So yeah, it really feels like a Cartoon Network show or even maybe something you see on Nick. Again, has its little serious moments in there, but it mainly just is funny and and very silly and quirky and grounded. So yeah, again, just to stop talking about it here, rate the show. I'd probably give it like a freaking 9 out of 10. Like I don't even really have to think about it that hard. That's a 9 for me. It again just does everything it needs to. It freaking doesn't dawdle around, and it's funny. What more could you ask? This is a funny, goofy little show. So if you like little feel good, wholesome, funny shows, give Strawberry Vampire a freaking shot. You know, yeah, give it a shot and go sub to Little Tuffy on freaking YouTube and follow all this medias and stuff. Even though I think the ad's different, it's not Little Tuffy. Could be wrong though, but I don't think it is. And I would say the creator's real name, but I forgot it. So, oops. But yeah, again, just go watch all these pilots. Even Overclock, as much as I was ragging on it before, it's still worth your time, especially if you like the kind of show that it's trying to be. Like you sort of painting and stocking studio triggered, like just crazy vibes all around. So like, again, these shows kind of have entirely different vibes separately, and that's what I love about indie animation in particular. Uh, is that again, you just get a lot of different vibes, tons of different stories told by different creators of like what they clearly want to tell. And yeah, again, it's just fun. Especially all these shows are all aesthetically different. Overclock's 3D. Um, Three Tomes is 2D, and so is Strawberry Vampire. But again, they're very stylistically different shows. Like Strawberry Vampire has a much simpler art style. Um, you know, even artistically, freaking the Three Tomes is very sort of anime inspired in that way as well. So again, there's a lot to enjoy here on even just like this specific platform of YouTube. There's a lot to find out there, and again, I'll keep finding and I'll keep putting in that playlist. So again, I guess I'll try and link it in the description. If you don't want to freaking have to go all the way to my main channel, which isn't that hard to get to from here, but again, I'll just I'll make it a bit easier. I'll leave that in the description so you can go to it and maybe if there's something in there that you've never seen before and it catches your eye, yeah, go ahead. I mean, I'm even in the process of getting like international indie animation in there. It's mainly going to be in English, and if like for example for certain ones, like if an English dub exists, I'm going to put the English dub in there and not the original language version of it. But even then, it should be pretty simple to find from there because most of the time it's either on the same channel or like that channel links to the other channel where you can find the original, uh, like the original, I guess, dub per se. It's not really a dub, but you know what I mean. You can find the original language. So, yeah, um, I guess that's all I need to say. That's all I gotta say. At least talking about indie animation gives me something to talk about because I'll be honest, last podcast was a little rough and it didn't even go for over an hour. This one did. It's technically about to reach 2 hours, so that's crazy. Wow. Yeah. So I guess by the next time I do this, uh, I'll have hopefully have watched more indie pilots and again just had more to say about them. You know, I think I will probably do three a podcast just so I'm not talking for 25 years. Um, especially because I might want to, maybe because again these kind of function as journals as well. So being able to maybe just talk about how my life is going in there, I can do that and just kind of have a bit of a record of it. And, you know, you can see that evolution over time of me. But yeah, just to provide some other level of entertainment, because I can't talk about myself forever. Yeah, I think reviewing these funny little indie pods here gives me a chance to talk about things that I'm passionate about. And oh, geez, hopefully, once I'm big enough, maybe actually influence some people to go check out these smaller creators if they end up being smaller than me, or even just, again, check out some cool stuff. Go watch something you never seen before. I care a lot about this because this could be the future of entertainment, and also just because I want to be that. I want to be that too. So I should support my peers as well. Um, yeah, because I will say I have written a bit of an indie pilot with my friend here. It's a very less serious thing, and I don't even expect it to be anything big or huge or major. But you know, maybe expect that at some point. Not necessarily this year, but maybe if I get it done by then. So who knows? But I'm just gonna tease it out here because again, if you care at all about this kind of stuff, then you know, uh, go watch it, go support the people, go do something, go do something. Ah, yeah. All right, well, I think that's about it. Here again, before the podcast ends, again for the listeners, I'm adding purple. I'm adding purple to the thing, to the revolution. Here we go. Or actually, it's blue. Never mind. I'll say this. I'm blue purple colorblind. I don't even know if that's a kind of colorblind, but like I swear I see blue and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's purple. And then I see blue or even indigo because it's that sort of middle color between the two. It's like I don't know, is that purple? Is that blue? Like again, I stop myself because I know I'm like this. And I'm like, is that blue? Is that purple? Because I might assume right away, oh yeah, that's blue. But then I look closer, I'm like, wait, no, is that purple? Is that purple that I'm looking at right now? Yeah, I don't know. My eyes just cannot tell the difference in any meaningful way. But again, here, let's end the podcast. We're adding blue. Oh, RGB, buy blue. Funny achievements. Yeah. We got blue. We got blue, baby. We got blue. We got blue. RGB. Getting because I have red and green and blue, and that's like the colors you see out of your eyes. Just in case you didn't know that, it's the colors you see out of your eyes. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's it. Um, I don't really have much to say. Oh my god, wait, I have to put the game on 3 times speed? Dude, I can't. Oh my gosh. I can't. I can't just make it faster. Wow, look at that. I'm gonna progress the game a whole lot quicker now. Alright, anyways. It's okay, yeah, that's the end of the podcast. Okay. Bye bye, bye bye. I don't think I have a thing to end the podcast, and if I do, I forgot it already, so oh, bye bye, bye, bye. Oh gosh, my throat. Oh, frig.